You know, usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this underlying expectation of just like absolute precision.
Oh, for sure. It's almost like engineering.
Right. Like if you fall and break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged, undeniable white line across the bone.
Yeah, and the doctor just points to the film and says, there it is. That's the problem.
Exactly. It's clean, it's objective.
And honestly, it's deeply comforting, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, we humans just love things to be visible and easily categorized. It gives us this sense of control over the chaos of life.
It really does. But then, you step out of the clinic and into the world of personal development,
Oh boy.
and
Yeah.
you set out to achieve this massive life goal. Like maybe you want to become a truly transformative leader or, I don't know, completely overhaul how you handle conflict in your marriage.
Right. And suddenly that beautiful, precise X-ray machine is just totally broken.
It's gone. You're looking at a landscape that is just incredibly murky.
Yeah, and instead of hard diagnostics, we're told to rely on, like, wishful thinking.
Vision boards.
Exactly. Vision boards, manifesting, and just sort of white-knuckling our way through this sea of vague intentions.
I mean, it is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Totally. And that specific lack of precision is exactly why so many of us feel this, this profound, quiet sense of shame when we inevitably fail to reach those massive goals.
Yes, the shame is so real.
Think about it. When you fail a New Year's resolution by mid-February, what's your internal monologue?
It's definitely not, oh, my structural architecture was misaligned.
Right. You think, there is a hidden character flaw inside me. I'm lazy and undisciplined. I just lack willpower.
Like everyone else figured this out and I'm just fundamentally broken. That's the feeling.
That's exactly it.
But today we are going to completely dismantle that feeling. Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today is a meticulous exploration into the actual mechanical architecture of human intention.
I am so excited for this one.
Me too. We are unpacking part 2 of the root square chart from the Metamatics framework, specifically the mechanics of chart construction.
Yes.
And I want to set the stakes right now for you listening. If you have ever burned out on a massive, overwhelming goal, what we are about to discuss will completely reframe your struggle.
Because what this framework does is it takes that heavy, paralyzing shame out of the equation entirely,
It really does.
and it replaces it with just sheer, unbiased mechanics. It turns that sinking feeling of personal inadequacy into a solvable structural formula.
It is literally an engineering manual for human transformation.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Okay, so to ground this, I want you to picture something in your mind's eye. Just imagine a massive blue drafting paper unrolled across a large wooden table.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
On it is a blueprint of a perfect symmetrical square. Now, at the absolute center of the square is what we'll call the root.
The root, got it.
That is the ultimate massive transformation you are trying to become, the emergent whole. Growing out from that root are 4 distinct branches. Think of these as your major capability domains.
Like huge areas of your life.
Exactly. And those branches hold 12 leaves, which are functional psychological states of being.
Okay.
And finally, growing from those leaves, at the very outermost edge of this entire blueprint, are 36 fruits.
And those are the tiny atomic behaviors.
Right. You got it. 36 tiny granular actions.
It sounds like a botanical metaphor, but the underlying structure operating here is really pure physics and mathematics.
It really is.
I mean, it's a precise map of how incredibly complex human outcomes actually assemble themselves in the real world.
But the way we naturally try to interact with this blueprint completely upends how society teaches us to think about success.
Oh, totally.
Which brings us to a massive psychological trap. Let's talk about the absolute delusion of center-out goal setting.
Yeah, this is where we really have to look at our cultural conditioning, because universally, we are taught to build our lives from the center out.
Like almost exclusively.
Imagine walking into a corporate retreat or like a high-end coaching seminar. What happens?
Someone writes a massive abstract noun on a whiteboard.
Exactly. Something like integrated leadership or financial freedom.
Oh, right. They draw a big circle around it.
And then they tell everyone to spend the next year trying to just, act like a leader.
Oh my gosh, yes. Be more proactive. Be a better partner. Show up with presence.
Right.
We are aiming our daily actions directly at the center of the blueprint. We were aiming at the root.
And doing that is defined in the source material as structural hubris.
Structural hubris. Wow.
It is an absolute delusion of the ego to think you can operate that way. You cannot build a transformation from the center out.
So what's the alternative?
The fundamental, uncompromising mandate of this entire architecture is that you must build from the edge in.
Meaning starting at the outermost edge of the blueprint.
Yeah.
Starting with those 36 tiny fruits.
Precisely. I mean, the root does not exist until the branches do.
Oh, okay.
The branches do not exist until the leaves do. And the leaves do not exist until the fruits do.
It's a total cascade.
You have to build the hyperspecific atomic characteristics at the very edge of the map first.
Mm.
And you allow the center to emerge as a structural consequence of those edges.
So you don't build the center at all.
No.
Yeah.
The center builds itself if the edges are correct.
Hold on, let me push back on this because I know exactly what I'd be thinking if I were listening to this for the first time.
Go for it.
Why is that hubris? Like, why can't I just practice the leaf directly?
What do you mean?
Well, if I look at my blueprint and one of my 12 leaves is, let's say, active listening, which sounds like a great, actionable thing, why can't I just put listen better on my daily to-do list? Yeah. I mean, listening is a physical action. I am physically sitting here looking at you, keeping my mouth shut, and processing your words.
Right.
How is an abstract state? Why can't I just practice it?
That is the perfect pushback.
Yeah.
And it gets to the absolute core of why human beings fail to change.
Okay, lay it on me.
The answer comes down to a staggering reality about the illusion of agency.
The illusion of agency.
Yeah. And this entire massive root square blueprint, those 36 fruits, the granular items at the edge, are the only place where human agency actually exists.
Wait, the only place out of the entire square?
The only place. You have absolutely zero direct agency over your branches and zero agency over your root.
Mind blow.
You cannot practice a noun. Integrated leadership is a noun. Your nervous system literally does not know how to execute it.
But I brought up active listening. That's a verb, isn't it?
Well, you argue that it's physical.
Mhm.
But the problem is that active listening is still a conceptual state.
How so?
It is a continuous, subjective interpretation of reality. Your motor cortex doesn't know what better means.
Oh.
Right. If you tell your brain to listen better, your brain has no clear on-off switch for that command. It's vague.
Okay, wow. So if the motor cortex can't execute better, what does my nervous system actually know how to do?
It only knows how to execute highly specific binary verbs, granular, physical, undeniable verbs. You only have agency over the atomic verbs.
So strip away the feel-good language. If I can't put listen better on my to-do list, what does a genuine atomic fruit actually look like in the real world?
An atomic fruit is something that is observable by a third party in a room and strictly behavioral.
Okay.
It has an absolute start and stop point. For example, leaving your smartphone in another room during a one-on-one meeting.
Ah.
That is a fruit. You either did it or you didn't.
There is zero ambiguity. I mean, you can't lie to yourself about whether the phone is in your pocket or in the kitchen.
Exactly. Another classic example. Tracking your exact sleep and wake times in a spreadsheet for 14 consecutive days.
Very specific.
Or, in a conversation, waiting a full, counted 3 seconds after someone stops talking before you open your mouth to speak.
I love that one.
Right. Your brain knows exactly how to count to 3, and it knows how to keep your jaw clenched. You have direct, unmitigated agency over that micro-action.
That is a massive paradigm shift. I mean, it takes personal development out of the clouds and drags it down into the dirt of cold, hard behavior.
It really does.
But this immediately creates a massive problem of choice, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, if our only actual agency lies in these 36 tiny granular fruits at the edge of the map, how do we possibly figure out which 36 belong on our specific chart?
Oh, yeah.
There are millions of good habits out there. I could drink water, I could meditate, I could stretch. How do I know which microactions will actually build my specific root?
That is the exact challenge. If you just grab 36 random good habits off a productivity blog, you are just throwing paint at a wall.
Right, you're just doing stuff to do stuff.
You won't build your root. To figure out your specific architecture, you have to go through a selection process called silhouette allocation.
Silhouette allocation, that's a fascinating term.
Isn't it?
It implies we are tracing the outline of something invisible, trying to figure out its shape by looking at the shadows it casts.
That is a beautiful way to interpret it. You are identifying the micro-components that cast a silhouette to cultivate your emergent root.
Oh, okay.
You aren't building the thing directly. You are building the shadow it needs to occupy.
I see.
And this is a highly structured three-step discovery process to overcome that exact paralysis of choice you just mentioned.
So let's imagine you, the listener, are staring at a completely blank piece of paper. You know you want to change your life, but you're paralyzed by all the options. how do we start tracing this silhouette?
Step one is desire mapping.
Desire mapping.
And the counterintuitive part here is that you absolutely do not try to define the end goal or the behavior directly.
Wait, really?
Really. Instead, you drop into your own body and ask, what would it feel like to actually inhabit this goal?
Okay.
What are the specific sensory and emotional characteristics of that state?
Give me a tangible example of that, because feeling a goal sounds a little dangerously close to that manifesting vision board stuff we explicitly rejected earlier.
I know. But it's not about wishing for a mansion. It's about physiological mapping.
Physiological mapping. Okay, explain that.
Let's say your vague overall goal is to be a more adaptable, resilient person at work.
Sure.
Instead of writing down, be adaptable, you ask, what does adaptability actually feel like in my nervous system on a Tuesday afternoon when everything is going wrong?
Okay, that's very specific.
Well, it feels like a lower heart rate. It feels like a lack of panic in my chest when a client pushes back. It feels like having an expansive space to think before I react.
Okay, I see the distinction. You're isolating the biological reality of the goal.
Exactly.
Having space to think isn't an affirmation, it's a description of a cognitive environment.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Once you've mapped that visceral characteristic, you move to step two, component extraction.
Component extraction.
You take that feeling of having space to think and you break it down into the most granular, essential, physical countermeasures that could possibly create it.
You extract the verb.
Yes. If it feels like having space, what is the mechanical action that forces space into existence?
Taking a physical breath, forcing a pause, stepping away from the keyboard.
Right. You extract the atom. Then step three is relationship analysis.
Okay, what's that?
You look at all these extracted atomic behaviors and you group them into natural clusters.
I see.
Behaviors that support your emotional regulation go into one cluster. Behaviors that support your physical stamina go into another.
And these clusters become something bigger.
Yes. These clusters eventually form your 12 functional leaves.
Okay, let's make this incredibly concrete. Let's say we've gone through silhouette allocation for you, the listener.
Love it.
We've desire mapped, we've extracted, and we've determined that one of the functional leaves you desperately need to build in your life is a state called informed responsiveness.
Informed responsiveness. That's an excellent example of a leaf.
Yeah.
It's a psychological state where you aren't reacting emotionally like a cornered animal, but you aren't freezing in overanalysis either. You are responding to stress with informed, calibrated agility.
It's the sweet spot. But as we established in the mandate of Edge in Building, I have zero agency over informed responsiveness.
Exactly zero.
I can't wake up and just do it. So, through step 2 component extraction, we identify 3 highly specific atomic fruits that belong to this leaf.
Okay,
I want to walk through these 3 carefully because this is crucial.
let's do it.
Fruit number 1, taking a deliberate physical breath for exactly 3 seconds before speaking whenever you are verbally challenged.
Beautiful.
Fruit number 2, explicitly stating 2 different opposing points of view internally in your own mind before opening your mouth.
Very cognitive. I like it.
And fruit number 3, verbally responding from the other side of the table first, meaning the very first words out of your mouth must validate the other person's underlying concern before you state your own position.
Now look at the anatomy of those 3 fruits. They are perfect atoms.
They really are.
They are entirely observable, undeniably actionable, and completely within your direct conscious agency.
Right.
You can definitively know if you waited 3 seconds. You can definitively know if your first sentence validated the other person.
But, and this is a massive but that I think is going to spike the cortisol of everyone listening.
Oh no. What is it?
If I look at a completed blueprint, I have 36 of these hyper-specific, rigid rules.
Yeah.
Are you telling me I have to track 36 different micro-habits every single day of my life? Because honestly, that doesn't sound like relief from shame. That sounds like an obsessive-compulsive nightmare that will burn me out faster than my original New Year's resolution.
That reaction right there is the exact trap almost everyone falls into when they first comprehend the sheer density of the root square chart.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. They look at 36 atomic habits, and their brain interprets it as a giant daily pass-or-fail to-do list.
It feels overwhelming.
But the architecture explicitly forbids that. You absolutely do not execute 36 fruits every day.
Goodness.
You have to reframe how you view the edge of the chart. It is not a to-do list. It is a menu.
A menu. Okay, explain the psychology of that shift.
Think about willpower and ego depletion. Your brain uses massive amounts of glucose to enforce new behaviors.
Right.
If you try to enforce 36 new rules, your system crashes by 10:00 a.m.
Easily.
So instead, you treat the chart as a menu of options. You wake up in the morning, you assess your immediate context, like, what kind of day is it?
Are you in back-to-back stressful meetings, or are you doing deep creative work?
Exactly. You evaluate your physical energy levels,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pick just 3 fruits from the menu.
Just 3 out of 36.
Just 3. You assign 100 units of your daily intention and energy to executing those 3 specific atoms perfectly.
And what about the other 33 fruits?
They stay completely dormant, they require 0 energy.
They are structurally part of your overarching architecture, but they are not active in your daily RAM. They aren't draining your battery.
Exactly. And if we look at the epidemic of burnout in our culture, this menu concept is the antidote.
That makes so much sense.
This is why this system actually works long-term. You don't have to carry the psychological, crushing weight of an entire life transformation on a rainy Tuesday morning when you've had 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, nobody can do that.
You just look at your menu,
Yeah.
select wait 3 seconds before speaking, track my water intake and leave phone in the other room,
Right.
and you just lay those 3 specific bricks.
Just 3 bricks.
That's it. If you do that, you win the day with absolute, verifiable certainty.
The relief in that is profound. I can literally feel my own shoulders dropping just thinking about it.
It's freeing, isn't it?
It is, but the logical side of my brain is streaming right now. It creates a massive puzzle.
I know exactly where you're going.
If I just lay 3 isolated bricks, if I just practice putting my phone away, waiting 3 seconds, and validating someone's concern, how do those tiny, deeply isolated behaviors somehow magically combine into a massive, sophisticated psychological state, like informed responsiveness?
Right.
I mean, they don't just add up.
Right.
You can't just say 3 tiny habits mathematically equal a life-changing epiphany.
You are entirely correct. They absolutely do not just add up.
Right.
And this brings us to the most fascinating, mind-bending mechanical core of this entire framework.
Okay, I'm ready.
They don't add up. They
Yeah.
chemically react.
Yes. Here is where we leave basic elementary arithmetic behind and enter the mathematics of emergence.
It's so cool.
Because it is incredibly clear on this point in the source material, the root square chart is not a simple 0 out of 100 point system.
No, not at all.
We are not doing standard addition here. 3 plus 3 plus 3 does not equal 9.
Right.
Instead, the architecture relies entirely on something called the synthesis operator.
The synthesis operator. If you were to write this out mathematically, it isn't represented by a standard plus sign.
Okay.
It is represented visually as a plus sign with a circle drawn completely around it. The synthesis operator symbol.
Like a crosshairs almost.
Exactly. And that bounding circle changes everything. It changes the fundamental operation of reality from simple accumulation to emergent synthesis.
Okay, let's actually unpack that difference because I think this is where the magic happens.
Let's use a chemistry analogy because it's the only way to truly visualize this.
Go for it.
If you use a standard addition sign, just a regular plus, you are basically just creating a pile. You are mixing elements together in a giant open room.
Okay.
If you take hydrogen gas and oxygen gas and you use standard addition, you are just pumping both gases into a room.
So hydrogen sits over in the corner, oxygen floats around the ceiling. They are in the same space, but nothing fundamental about them changes. You just have a room full of mixed air.
Right. But the synthesis operator, that circle drawn around the plus sign, represents a bounded reaction chamber.
A bounded reaction chamber.
It implies immense pressure and a catalyst. When you put hydrogen and oxygen inside that bounded chamber and introduce a spark, you don't get a pile of gas anymore.
The atoms violently recombine.
Exactly. You get water. And water possesses a brand new, emergent property that did not exist anywhere in the original isolated components. Exactly. Wetness. Think about how crazy that is. Hydrogen is not wet. Oxygen is not wet.
Right.
You could put a single hydrogen atom under the most powerful electron microscope in the world, study it for 10,000 years, and you would never, ever find the concept of wetness.
That's incredible.
Wetness is not a hidden ingredient. It only emerges through the synthesis of the components under pressure.
So bringing this back from chemistry to our own psychology, how does this emergence actually look in practice with our daily habits? How do fruits synthesize into a leaf? Actually, let's look at the classic example of a jazz musician. I think this illustrates it perfectly.
A master jazz musician is the ultimate embodiment of the synthesis operator.
How so?
Think about the atomic fruits. the daily micro habits that a jazz musician practices in isolation for years.
Okay.
Fruit 1. The musician studies music theory until they know the underlying harmonic structure and chord progressions of the tune flawlessly. That's cognitive.
Got it.
Fruit 2. The musician practices scales for thousands of hours to build the sheer physical dexterity to execute incredibly fast, complex, technical runs on their instrument. That's physical.
Yeah?
Fruit 3. The musician trains themselves to listen intently and pick up on the micro cues of the other ensemble partners in real time. That's sensory and emotional.
Okay, so we have 3 distinct atomic fruits: harmonic knowledge, physical technique, and sensory listening.
Now, if you just use standard addition, if you just pile those 3 skills together in a room, you don't get a jazz musician.
What do you get?
You just get a person who can play scales really fast while knowing what chords are on the paper and occasionally noticing what the drummer is doing. It's disjointed.
It's robotic. It's like recital music.
Exactly. But when those 3 fruits are forced to synthesize inside the bounded reaction chamber of a live, unpredictable performance in front of an audience, the synthesis operator engages. The spark hits.
And what emerges from that synthesis?
A brand new, higher order leaf. Responsive improvisation.
Responsive improvisation.
Yes. Responsive improvisation is the psychological wetness of the jazz musician.
Oh, I love that.
It is this incredibly sophisticated ability to create something entirely original in the moment while remaining in a genuine flowing dialogue with the rest of the band.
And that emergent capability did not exist in the C major scale.
No.
It did not exist in the chord chart. It only emerged from the synthesis of the atoms.
Exactly.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's apply this exact same synthesis operator directly to the informed responsiveness example we built earlier for you listening.
Yes, let's do that.
Remember our 3 fruits.
Taking a physical breath for 3 seconds before speaking.
Considering 2 points of view internally.
Responding by validating the other side's concern first.
Right.
If I just practice those completely separately on random days like standard addition, I'm basically just a person who occasionally breathes weirdly, overthinks my options, and mimics empathy like a robot.
Yeah, it's just a disjointed pile of awkward behaviors.
It's entirely clunky. But imagine I walk into a high-stakes, deeply stressful board meeting. A massive client aggressively attacks my project proposal.
Oh, the pressure is on.
My heart rate spikes.
Yeah.
My amygdala screams at me to fight back.
Yeah.
I am in the bounded reaction chamber. I use the synthesis operator.
Walk us through it.
First, I force the 3-second breath. That's fruit 1. That physical biological pause literally stops the cortisol cascade and creates a bounded temporal space.
Amazing.
Inside that specific 3-second chamber, my brain rapidly accesses 2 different points of view. That's fruit 2. I see my desperate need for this contract and their legitimate fear of the budget constraints.
Right.
Then, when the 3 seconds are exactly up, I open my mouth and deploy fruit 3. I can see exactly why that price tag is terrifying given your Q3 budget cuts.
Boom. Synthesis.
Synthesis.
Yeah.
I didn't just execute a checklist of 3 tasks. The chemical reaction of the biological pause, the cognitive perspective shift, and the verbal validation created the emergent psychological state of informed responsiveness.
It's incredible.
I became the wetness. I completely neutralized the conflict and held the room.
It is a phenomenal, almost out-of-body feeling when that synthesis clicks into place for the first time.
I can imagine.
You stop feeling like you are micromanaging a tedious checklist of habits, and you suddenly realize you are inhabiting a completely unified field of capability. You literally are responsive.
It sounds incredibly empowering. But I have to stop us here and play devil's advocate for a second.
Uh-oh.
Because there is a terrifying concept introduced regarding the synthesis called the bottleneck test.
Oh, yes. The bottleneck test.
And I need to ask a very pragmatic question about human flaws.
Let's hear it. This is where the math gets unforgiving.
Let's say I am a brilliant executive. I am a genius with data. I have incredible executive presence and vocal projection. I know the material cold.
Okay, you're a rock star.
Right. So in my 3 atomic fruits, I have 2 of them operating at an absolute 10 out of 10.
Sure.
But I am historically painfully bad at empathy. I don't truly listen. I am arrogant. I completely fail fruit 3. My question is, do I still get partial credit? Does my sheer brilliance in the first 2 fruits compensate for my weakness in the third? Do I get, like, a 70% functional version of the leaf?
This is the hardest pill for high achievers to swallow.
Oh, no.
The answer is a definitive, uncompromising no. You absolutely do not get a 70% version of the leaf.
Wait, really?
Really, you get catastrophic structural failure.
Catastrophic failure. No partial credit whatsoever.
None, because you have to remember, this is chemistry, not a high school exam.
Wow.
The bottleneck test dictates that all three dimensions, which are typically cognitive, physical, and emotional components, are absolutely mandatory for the structural integrity of the synthesis.
Okay, give me an example.
Think back to the water analogy.
Oh.
If you have incredible world-class 10 out of 10 oxygen, but you have absolutely zero hydrogen, you don't get slightly less wet water.
You just get air.
You get a completely failed reaction.
Wow. So if one element is missing, the emergence cannot happen.
Exactly. If you walk into that negotiation with perfect data recall and perfect vocal projection, but absolutely zero empathy or validation, you aren't improvising responsibly.
What are you doing?
You are just aggressively lecturing a client who tuned you out 5 minutes ago. Your two brilliant 10 out of 10 fruits just synthesized to create a highly efficient alienation machine.
An alienation.
Yes. The leaf fails to emerge entirely.
That is deeply sobering, but honestly, it explains so much about the real world.
Doesn't it?
Think about how many high performers, like people who are absolute savants in one or two areas, suddenly and inexplicably derail in their careers or their marriages.
Yep.
They hit a bottleneck test. They lack the third, often emotional dimension required for synthesis, and because of that, the entire chemical reaction of their life fails.
It is the silent saboteur of the ambitious. People try to double down on their strengths, thinking a 15 out of 10 in intellect will cover a 0 out of 10 in empathy.
It doesn't work that way.
The math of the root square entirely rejects that premise. You are bound by your weakest atom.
Okay, let's assume the listener does the hard work. They balance their components.
Oh.
They pass the bottleneck test.
Awesome.
If we perfectly synthesize 3 atomic fruits, we have successfully built one leaf. And as we established when we looked at the blueprint, it takes 3 leaves to build the next layer inward, a branch.
Correct. We are moving from the granular edge deeper into the macro structure of the blueprint.
But when we zoom out to the branch level, the mathematical symmetry we've been relying on suddenly breaks down in a highly intentional and, frankly, incredibly frustrating way.
Oh, yes, it does.
Which brings us to the fourth quarter principle, or, as I called it when I first tried to map this out, the math bug.
The math bug, yes. This is the exact moment when almost everyone who encounters this framework thinks they've found a typo or a logical error in the underlying philosophy.
Oh, I absolutely thought it was a typo. Let me lay out the arithmetic paradox for you listening, because it is baffling at first glance. It made me question everything we've talked about.
Let's hear it.
Let's look at a branch. A branch represents 100% of a major capability domain in your life. Something massive like professional competence.
Okay.
The blueprint states clearly that a branch contains exactly 3 leaves.
Right.
Now, if you have 100% of a pie, and that pie is made of 3 equal parts, the most basic elementary math dictates that each leaf should represent 33.3% of the branch.
Undeniable elementary arithmetic.
The framework explicitly insists that each named leaf represents exactly 25% of the total system load.
That's right.
So let's do the math together slowly. Leaf 1 is 25%. Leaf 2 is 25%. Leaf 3 is 25%.
Yep.
3 times 25 equals 75%.
It sure does.
If I spend years perfectly cultivating my 3 constituent leaves, I only possess 75% of a fully functioning branch.
Correct.
The architecture is essentially taxing my personal development by 25%. Where's the missing quarter? Did I forget to draw a secret 4th leaf on my blueprint?
I love how maddening this is when you first see it.
It is.
The answer is no. There is no hidden 4th leaf. You didn't misread the chart. The missing 25% is not a noun. It is not a component you can build.
Then what is it?
It is the overlap.
The overlap. Let's unpack this slowly, because this is where the theory hits the concrete of reality.
The missing 25% is the dynamic, real-time friction and integration of your perfectly built components operating in the messy, unpredictable, chaotic environment of the real world.
Huh.
You see, possessing all the perfect ingredients is absolutely not the same thing as executing the recipe.
True.
Building the leaves in isolation only gives you 75% of the capacity. The final 25% is the sheer energetic cost of forcing them to work together simultaneously.
I want to use a purely mechanical analogy to visualize this, because it clicked for me when I thought about building a car.
No, that's a great analogy.
Let's say your branch goal is to have a moving vehicle. You want forward momentum.
Okay.
Leaf 1 is the engine. You spend years building a flawless engine that generates power. That is 25% of the system. Leaf 2 is the transmission. You build the perfect gear system to route that power. That's another 25%.
Yeah.
Leaf 3 is the wheels. Perfect rubber, perfect alignment, designed to grip the road. That's 25%.
So you have all the parts.
Right. So you have your 3 leaves. You have 75% of the vehicle completely and perfectly built. But the car still isn't moving down the highway. What is missing?
You are missing the actual friction and engagement of the system.
Exactly. The fourth quarter, the missing 25% is the driver physically pressing the gas pedal, the transmission violently engaging the drive shaft, and the rubber actively fighting the friction of the asphalt.
Yes.
That dynamic live-action integration is the overlap. It is the energetic tax of making the static parts actually function in reality.
What's fascinating about the overlap is that it is always whatever is required to make the other three inevitable.
How do you mean?
Well, in a machine, it's the physical engagement.
Yeah.
But if you are building a complex psychological branch, like professional competence, the overlap isn't a physical part.
What is it then?
The overlap is the seamless, exhausting way you have to apply your informed perspective through your practical mastery while simultaneously continuing to evolve in a live, hostile boardroom.
Oh, wow.
The overlap is the moment the 3 leaves stop being separate capabilities written on a piece of paper and are forced to become one unified, living, breathing field of action.
It's the difference between practicing football drills on a beautiful, empty, sunny practice field
Yeah.
and actually playing the game on Sunday with a 250-pound linebacker actively trying to tackle you.
Yes.
The empty field drills are the 75%, the chaos, the vision, the panic of the live game. That is the 25% overlap.
That is a phenomenal way to put it. You have to account for the linebacker.
Right.
And this specific 3+1 structure, 3 named, built elements plus 1 chaotic overlap quarter, applies at both the fruit-to-leaf level and the leaf-to-branch level.
Got it.
You mathematically build 75% bound identification, and you are forced to add 25% tailored, real-world utilization.
Okay, but we have to introduce a massive structural pivot here, because the framework notes a critical, fundamental distinction when we finally reach the absolute center of the blueprint.
Ah, yes. The transition from the 4 branches inward to the 1 root.
Right.
Yes, the entire mathematical pattern fundamentally changes at the center, and it's vital to understand the philosophy behind why.
What changes?
At the root level, there is no 3+1 structure. There is no missing quarter.
Really?
The root requires 4 distinct branches, and each branch is a complete 25% identity entirely on its own. 4 times 25 perfectly equals 100%.
Wait, hold on. So there's no overlap quarter at the root level.
Right.
Why the sudden difference? Why is the center perfectly mathematically balanced when the edges aren't?
Because you have to understand the nature of branches. Branches are not tiny subcomponents of the root in the same way that a steering wheel is a subcomponent of a car.
What are they then?
Branches are entirely different perspectives on the exact same holistic scenario.
Different perspectives.
Yeah. If you look at a complete chart, you have a time branch, an energy branch, an output branch. They aren't physical pieces. They are 4-dimensional lenses through which you view your entire life.
To make sense of how these 4 branches combine without needing that overlap friction, I want to explore this incredible concept, the athlete analogy. This explains how the root actually emerges.
I love this analogy. It perfectly captures the deepest philosophy of the framework, the concept of spontaneous emergence.
So follow me on this.
Yeah.
Imagine you want to create a highly competitive, incredibly fast-paced game of basketball.
Okay.
That game itself, the
Yeah.
flow, the teamwork, the competition that is the root.
Right.
Circumstance A, you start by building the ingredients. You take 7 young individuals and you spend years raising them.
Yep.
You build their family culture, you train their muscular movement skills, you psychologically reward them for competition and aggression.
So you're building them up.
You meticulously build all their atomic fruits, their functional leaves, and their major branches until they are 7 fully formed, socially adventurous, type A, elite athletes.
You have completely built the 4 branches of their complex athletic identity. They are 100% complete athletes.
Right. Now, circumstance B. You take those 7 fully formed athletes, you put them in a closed gymnasium, you throw a single basketball onto the court, and you lock the door from the outside.
Okay, I see where this is going.
My question is, do you have to walk in there with a clipboard and blow a whistle and force them to play?
No way.
Do you have to actively coerce them into overlapping their skills to create a game?
Absolutely not. You don't have to command them to do a single thing. It would be impossible to stop them from playing.
Exactly. The ultimate root spontaneously occurs.
Spontaneously.
Because you put fully formed, 100% complete branches in the proper physical and psychological proximity around the exact same scenario, The root doesn't need to be forced into existence with a 25% effort tax.
It just happens.
It just happens. The game plays itself because the architectural tension for play is already fully present in the room.
This is the profound takeaway. From each of the 4 branches comes a 25% equivalency to the root.
Right.
When those 4 100% perfectly built branches are put into proper proximity, the root expresses itself completely without external coercion.
That is wild to think about.
The final transformation you are seeking in your life isn't something you actively do. It isn't a heavy boulder you push up a hill.
It's not just white-knuckling it.
No, it's something that inevitably, spontaneously happens when the underlying architecture is correct.
That is the ultimate breathtaking promise of the root square chart. The inevitable manifestation of the root. It removes the exhausting daily grind of trying to be a different person.
It really does.
But as beautiful as this overarching architecture is, and as mind-bending as the math of emergence and the fourth quarter friction is, let's be brutally honest,
Always.
it is completely, utterly useless to you listening right now if you do not know how to write the executable instructions for your actual Tuesday morning.
You are exactly right. A brilliant blueprint is entirely useless if the contractors on the ground don't have a daily work order they can actually read.
Which brings us to the final and arguably most crucial piece of the puzzle: executable code for your life.
Yes.
We have to talk about the notation system and the position of one, because the framework warns us, in very stark terms, that a vague fruit on a beautifully drawn chart will instantly collapse the moment it hits the friction of reality.
This is where the metamatics framework transitions completely out of abstract philosophy and into the realm of hard psychological coding.
Coding. I love that word for this.
Let's look at a seemingly good but actually terribly vague fruit. Let's say you have an atomic fruit on the edge of your chart that simply says, walk home.
Okay, walk home.
You want to walk home from work every single day to build a leaf of physical wellness and mental decompression.
Sounds like a great, simple atomic fruit. It's a verb. What's the problem?
The problem is that it's a completely exposed noun phrase. It has no defenses against reality.
What do you mean by defenses?
What happens when it rains? What happens when you are emotionally exhausted from a terrible meeting? Do you walk fast? Do you walk slowly? Do you listen to music or walk in silence?
Oh, I see.
Because the instruction is vague, every single afternoon at 5:00 p.m. becomes an internal negotiation.
Should I walk today? It's kind of cloudy.
Exactly. And willpower, as we know, is a highly finite biological resource. Eventually, your willpower depletes, you justify calling an Uber, and the fruit completely collapses.
The internal negotiation kills the habit.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it? How do we build armor for this behavior?
We have to turn that vulnerable, vague phrase into a precise linguistic expression using the 4 foundational operators of the system.
The 4 operators. Let's list them.
The slash represents filtered by.
Okay.
The asterisk represents synergistic amplification.
Synergistic amplification.
The minus represents strategic elimination.
Got it.
And the plus represents integrative synthesis.
Okay, those operators make sense on a conceptual level. But the framework says that absolutely none of those symbols matter without the true beating heart of the entire system. The linchpin, the unity operator, the number 1.
Yes, this is crucial. In this entire framework, the symbol 1 is not the mathematical number 1.
What is it?
It is the unity operator. It represents you. It represents the conscious experiencing agent inside the equation.
Wow, okay.
Where you place the 1 dictates your focal agency. It answers the single most important psychological question in any personal development program. Are you driving the habit, or is the habit driving you?
Let's deeply break down the psychology of the 2 fundamental configurations of this unity operator.
Yeah.
X over 1 versus 1 over X.
If you write your behavioral expression as X over 1, you are operating in iterator-first mode.
Iterator first.
Notice that you, the 1, are in the denominator. You are the foundational driving force holding the variable up. You actively wield the variable.
So if X is walking, and I write it in my chart as walking over 1, that translates to I, as the conscious agent, actively use walking as my personal tool. I control when I walk, how I walk, and why I walk. If it rains, I decide if I want to wield this tool today or not.
Exactly. You retain total, absolute autonomy over the behavior.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
Well, there's a massive hidden danger there. Because you demand total autonomy, you also shoulder the burden of choice every single day.
Which leads to the second alternate configuration, 1 over X, delineator first mode.
Here, the variable is in the denominator. The variable, the behavior, shapes you. You yield entirely to the practice.
So if I write one over walking on my chart, that translates to I completely submit myself to the act of walking. Walking is the governing, immutable principle of my afternoon.
Mhm.
It is a strict rule I have adopted, and I allow myself to be shaped by its demands.
Notice the profound psychological difference. In one over walking, the exhausting daily negotiation at 5 p.m. is completely gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you are tired. It doesn't matter if you had a bad day. The rule governs you. You walk.
Because it's a rule.
Yes, it requires vastly less willpower because the decision was already pre-made at the architectural level.
I want to walk the listener through the full step-by-step evolution of this specific walk home case study, because I want them to see exactly how you write executable code for a messy human life.
It's a great exercise. Let's do it.
So our practitioner starts with just a vague idea. Walk home. They try it first in iterator mode, walking over one, I'm in control. What actually happens to them?
On Monday, they feel great, so they walk.
Cool.
On Tuesday, it's raining slightly. Because they are in iterator mode, they think, I'm in control. I choose not to use this tool today. They take an Uber.
There's the negotiation.
On Wednesday, they are emotionally drained. They tell themselves, I'll just walk twice as far tomorrow. They take the bus.
Oh, man.
By Friday, the habit is entirely dead. The burden of too much agency killed it.
They negotiated themselves out of the transformation. So they realized their mistake. They flipped the unity operator. They switched to delineator mode. One over walking. I am submitting to the practice. What happens now?
On Monday, they walk. On Tuesday, it's raining again. But this time, they think, walking is the rule. I yield to the rule. That is who I am.
Yeah.
They put on a jacket and walk in the rain.
Nice.
On Wednesday, they are completely exhausted, but they yield to the practice anyway and just walk very slowly. They succeed. They keep the habit alive.
They succeed in doing it, yes. But the scenario notes a new, deeper psychological problem.
Yes.
They're executing the behavior, but they are absolutely miserable. It feels robotic, empty, and punitive. It lacks adaptive intelligence and joy.
Which is exactly why we must bring in the 4 operators. We need to define exactly how this rigid practice interacts with a dynamic real world.
Whoa, okay, are we coding in Python now? Break this down for me, because looking at a string of symbols is where people usually tune out.
I know it sounds intense, but stay with me.
Okay, step 1. They need to add context using the filtered by operator, which is the slash.
Right.
The expression becomes 1 over walking/weather. Translate that into plain English for me.
It translates to, I completely yield to the practice of walking as it is filtered by weather conditions.
Okay, what does that practically mean?
Now, the practice suddenly possesses adaptive intelligence. If there is light rain, the filter says walk with an umbrella. If there is a massive thunderstorm, the filter says walk the indoor mall route.
Oh, that's brilliant.
If there is a dangerous heat wave, the filter says walk on the treadmill the next morning. The core rule holds, but the context intelligently filters the execution so you aren't being stupidly rigid.
Okay, that makes it survivable. Step 2. They need to add joy and synergy using the amplification operator, the asterisk.
Yes.
They realize that walking in total silence for an hour leaves them alone with their stressful work thoughts. It's boring. But listening to fascinating podcasts makes the hour generative.
Perfect.
Expression.
1.
Over walking/weather asterisk. Listening. Translate.
I yield to walking, logically filtered by weather, mutually amplified by the act of listening.
Mutually amplified.
Yes. Now they aren't just enduring a walk. They are walking and listening. The physical rhythm of walking makes the podcast more embodied and memorable, and the engagement of the podcast makes the physical effort of walking disappear. True synergy.
I love that. Step 3. We have to remove psychological obstacles using the elimination operator, the minus sign.
This one is huge.
Let's look at human nature. When this person inevitably gets the flu and genuinely has to skip a day, they feel massive, crushing guilt that ruins their entire evening. Guilt is a toxic contaminant to the whole system. We have to pre-solve for that cognitive dissonance.
Exactly.
Expression. 1 over walking/weather asterisk listening minus guilt. Translate.
With emotional guilt specifically strategically excluded from the operating system.
So they just decide not to feel guilty.
They pre-decide their absolute skip conditions. If they have a fever, they skip the walk entirely, and because of the minus operator, they do so without a shred of guilt.
That's powerful.
Resting is seen as honoring the architecture of the system, not failing it. This inoculates them against the what the hell effect, where one missed day of a diet ruins the whole month because of shame.
Brilliant. Finally, step 4. They integrate complementary elements using the synthesis operator, the plus sign.
Yes, the final piece.
They realize that if they only ever listen to podcasts, they are escaping their own mind. They need moments of pure, grounded presence.
Right.
Final expression. 1 over walking/weather asterisk listening minus guilt plus presence.
Look at the sheer architectural beauty of what we just built together.
Amazing.
We took a vague, vulnerable, failing noun walk home, and we mathematically coded it into a highly robust, adaptive, joyful, executable daily practice.
Wow.
That is the true power of the notation system. It tells your fragile nervous system exactly how to handle the chaos of reality.
It is incredibly powerful. But we had to address a massive warning given right at the end of this section. It's a concept called the inversion kick.
Ah, the inversion kick.
If I've coded this perfect 1 over x delineator practice, and it's working beautifully, why can't I just run this exact expression forever? Why mess with success?
Because human consciousness has a dangerous tendency to crystallize. It hardens.
How so?
Let's look at both sides. If you stay in iterator mode x over 1 forever, where you are constantly driving, asserting control, and forcing every variable in your life to bend to your will, your ego hardens.
You just get rigid.
You become deaf to the subtle feedback of your environment. You start forcing outcomes even when the context changes, and eventually you suffer a catastrophic systemic burnout.
You essentially become a tyrant over your own life. You exhaust yourself by constantly dominating your own schedule.
Exactly. But conversely, if you stay in delineator mode 1 over x forever, where you're constantly yielding to your perfectly designed systems, yielding to your rules, letting the environment shape you entirely, you slowly lose your active creative agency.
You just coast.
You drift. You become a passenger in a self-driving car of your own making.
You become a robot executing perfect code, but you forget how to steer. So, the system mandates a cyclical conscious flip. The inversion kick.
Yes. The inversion kick is the mandatory conscious alternation of your position of 1.
Okay, so how does it work?
If you have spent 3 months in high-control, aggressive iterator mode, actively driving a massive project forward, you must intentionally initiate an inversion kick and forcibly shift your habits into delineator mode.
You have to force the shift.
You must yield. You must listen. You must let the system run you for a while to conserve your willpower and gather sensory feedback.
And then, when you have rested, when you've learned what the environment is trying to tell you, you execute another inversion kick.
Yes.
You flip back into iterator mode.
Yes.
But now you are driving with the deep wisdom you gained while you were yielding. It feels like a massive breathing mechanism for the human psyche. Inhale, exhale, wield the tool, yield to the practice, drive, observe.
That's exactly what it is. It ensures you neither burn out from tyranny nor drift away into passivity. It maintains the dynamic, living equilibrium of the entire root square architecture.
This has been an absolutely massive, mind-expanding journey today. We have mapped an incredible amount of psychological and mathematical territory. Before we go, let's tightly summarize exactly what we've unpacked for you so you can actually carry this out into the world.
Definitely. We started by completely deconstructing the delusion of center-out goals. We established that your nervous system cannot practice abstract nouns like leadership or financial freedom.
Right.
You must build your life from the edge in, starting exclusively with binary atomic verbs.
We learned how to define those specific atoms through the 3 steps of silhouette allocation. Desire mapping the biological feeling, extracting the mechanical component, and grouping them. And crucially, we learned to treat those 36 atomic fruits as a daily menu you select from, not a crushing, exhaustive to-do list.
We explored the sheer mathematics of emergence, how standard addition just piles dead skills in a room, but the synthesis operator acts as a high-pressure bounded reaction chamber.
That chemistry analogy was wild.
It chemically combines atomic actions like pausing for 3 seconds, shifting perspective, and validating into entirely brand new emergent states of being, like informed responsiveness.
We solved the maddening 4th quarter math bug. The realization that building your components only ever gets you 75% of the way there. The missing 25% is the overlap, the physical, messy, energetic friction of integrating those components in the live chaos of the real world.
And finally, we learned how to write the actual executable code for our daily lives. Using the 4 structural operators, mastering the placement of the unity operator to define who is driving the behavior, and utilizing the inversion kick to prevent our consciousness from crystallizing into burnout or drift.
So after all of this theory, what does this actually mean for how you, listening right now, live your life tomorrow morning?
My absolute strongest advice, if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, is this. Do not attempt to sit down tonight and build a complete 36 fruit chart.
Do not do it.
Do not try to mathematically notate every single habit in your entire life by midnight. That is the classic spread too thin anti-pattern, and it will paralyze you before you even begin.
The structural hubris will sneak right back in.
Yeah.
So what is the precise atomic action they should take?
Tomorrow morning, I want you to simply trace a tiny silhouette. Pick just 3 tiny atomic fruits from the edge of your conceptual map. 3 undeniable verbs.
Just 3.
Wait 3 seconds, put the phone away, track one metric. Focus 100 units of your daily intention on executing just those 3 specific things. Allow the synthesis to happen in the background. Just lay 3 bricks perfectly.
Just lay 3 bricks. I love that. It makes them monumental achievable. And as you go out tomorrow to lay those 3 bricks, I want to leave you with a final, highly provocative thought drawn directly from the philosophical epilogue of this framework.
Oh, this is a good one.
We have spent this entire deep dive building incredibly rigid mathematical architectures. We've audited our agency, we've applied strict chemical formulas, and we've engineered our behavior down to the very symbol. We have spent an hour acting as hyperconscious, calculating architects of total control.
We really have.
But what if the ultimate hidden purpose of all this hyperconscious control is actually to teach you how to finally, completely let go?
Wow.
The grand paradox of the root square is that once you perfectly build the architecture, once your branches are fully formed, aligned, and placed in proximity, you realize you aren't actually forcing the universe to do anything at all.
You're really not.
You are just perfectly aligning your sails with the prevailing current. By completely mastering the granular mechanics of the self, you finally learn how to surrender to the spontaneous, emergent co-creation of the whole. You don't play the game just plays itself through you. Something for you to ponder as you step back out into the friction of the world. Keep designing.